guys, today is the 4th of March 2020 and it's 12 minutes past 1 in the morning over here in the UK. I'm doing things slightly differently on this video because I find it more helpful to be able to track through a video in this way rather than trying to pinpoint and shift to the points in the video that I need. I'm not going to be playing this video. This video I was making to upload, but I think I'm just going to talk about it in this sense. Apologies, because I know that the screen is in portrait, which means that the image is much smaller, and not only that, obviously the image only takes up a small portion of the screen, so it will be even smaller than it would be if it took up the whole screen. So I can only apologize for that, but I feel that you guys will be able to follow regardless. So the first thing I wanted to point out, I wanted to talk about really, is a couple of dates that are coming out to me: the 21st of March, the 31st of March, and the 2nd and 3rd of April. So I've already shown you guys this one already in the Avengers movie, when Spider-Man's on the bus and he shoots his web to jump out of the bus. Whoops. He connects with the window, which is number 3, and he jumps out of the emergency exit. And then when he's outside of the bus and he jumps away from it, we can see that in fact that window he jumps away from is not the 3rd window, but is in fact the 4th window, because the bus driver's window is also included. Just trying to stop it there. A little bit more. So you can see the 1, 2, 3, and that's the 4th one he jumped out of. So that gives us a 3-4 reference. Now obviously today is March 4th, so I'm keeping a special eye on that particular sequence of numbers, 3 and 4 or 4 and 3. So there is also a warning today, and obviously March 4th, I think I talked about this date last year in terms of the way it's said. March 4th is sort of an instruction in terms of march forward. So keep an eye out for anything happening today as well. But even in this next scene that comes up, I have to play it because he says something. It doesn't have to be that loud. Sorry, I'll just turn it down. Maybe some more. Okay.
Evac anyone south of 43rd Street. Notify first responder. Will do.
So I pointed that out before. What the Iron Man character says there is: Friday, notify anyone south of 43rd Street, and talks about evacuation. And Friday, April 3rd, is a date that comes up in this year, 2020. In the background with the Stephen Strange character over here by the taxi, there's a timeout banner on top of the taxi, which I feel is obviously there for particular reasons. We then go on to the next media type, which is the Big Bang Theory. I talked about this as well.
We're smart guys. We can figure this out. 43. What is 43 besides my mom's neck size? It's the atomic number for technetium. That's radioactive.
So I pointed out before last time, the 43 reference again, April 3rd, March 4th, some sort of radioactivity that kind of gives you a connection to a bomb, a missile, or something like that taking place. Sticking with the Big Bang Theory, another thing I noticed is that the level on which the protagonists live is often depicted as the 4th level, but that is counting the ground floor as the 1st floor, and usually that's not the case. If you get in an elevator, it's ground floor, 1st floor, 2nd floor, and so on. So in actual fact, the floor that they live on is the 3rd floor. Their address is 4A, but if we consider that it's not the 4th floor they live on, it's actually the 3rd floor, then it will be 3A, and that doesn't correspond to March 4th, but that does correspond to April 3rd, or the 3rd of April, with the A obviously representing the month of April. And you should be able to see that in just a few seconds. There, just behind his head there, you can see the 4A, hopefully. I know it's going to be very small on some of your screens. The iPad Go 2 video. this part in the video after George Bush displays 10 and 10, which is 20, possibly the year. We then have a 3-4 reference, which could be 2020 March 4th or 2020 April 3rd. So keeping an eye out. I generally gravitate towards April because of the use of the letter A, and also we got the April Fool's reference around that time as well. So I usually gravitate towards that kind of area. But I'm also picking up the indications of not using hands in this video. The George Bush character here is not only a distraction in sign language that he's doing with his hands, but it's also a kind of not touching anything, hands up, you know, that kind of I don't want to touch anything sort of display that he's doing there. As we progress through the video, there are more potential references to the dates I've talked about, the 31st, a 3 and a potential 1 over here on the house being shaped like the letter A. Obviously, if you just take off the last bar, which they drew separately just for that indication. But there's also a reference to 21 in here with a 2 on this side and the 1 up here from the 31. And obviously reference to April 3rd. Same again with the house taking the shape of the A and the 3 that's hidden behind there. Let's move forward a little bit. The shark, a few things in the shark. The number 27 and August 27th, that's a date a bit further down the line that I also see in this video. But the back of the shark, pointed out before, makes the number 3. Hopefully you can see that there. And then off the end of that, if you went this way and up, you'd be making a number 2, and then you'd be following again with another number 2. So again, you can put that together and have a 3-4 reference. Of course, it could be 3-2, but February 3rd is gone and March 2nd is gone, so I'm not looking at it that way. I would only be able to look at it as today's date, March 4th, or next month, April 3rd. Obviously, I've talked about the pound coin symbol in the head and, you know, how that could connect to the UK, but also remember that that's also got a connection with August 27th, which I think is, I gravitate towards that date more for the UK. So I'm thinking around these times, submarines are going to be used in other locations, not in the UK, potentially around the Middle East and around the United States. Again, up here in the missile, reference to 3-1 potentially. You've also got the A3 reference for April 3rd. So, you know, there's quite a few images that repeat that date sequence. In this video, you're going to see other dates pop up on the screen because I was making the video and I was just going through looking at the different dates that I could see. So potentially here, I was seeing July 5th with the backwards 7 and the number 5. And I was thinking that's the day after Independence Day. And, you know, we've often said that the skeleton has some sort of connection to a rich character, potentially Donald Trump. We know that's an Abraham Lincoln reference as well. But the fireworks in the background indicate some sort of celebration or New Year. And obviously July 4th, Independence Day, a lot of fireworks are used. And that could be going on into July 5th, which is obviously the next day where we could see, you know, some events happen. Obviously with the coronavirus out there now, there's a possibility that Donald Trump isn't shot and that this image of Donald Trump lying on his back in silhouette is actually an image of him collapsing rather than, you know, being shot and collapsing from that, maybe collapsing from the coronavirus. Again, the potential for Donald Trump catching that is all in the eyes, the dark bags under the eyes. Obviously, we know this is George Bush, but we also know that it represents Donald Trump as well. So the eyes having that effect to them, it's not just I'm tired. It's an indication of, in this video, it's an indication of virus, which is why I think Obama is also destined to pick up this virus as well, because he also has those dark bags under his eyes indicating something wrong with them. And again, he's also got a reference to not touching things with his hands, wearing the white gloves, the pound coin, the apple stopping by his feet, nothing really touches his hands. In this scene here, I was just kind of looking, even just today, I was actually looking at the hangman. I haven't brought it up in this scene, but maybe I've got it in my gallery. 1 second. Where is it? Oh, I didn't transfer it from my computer. But basically, I had the hangman turned to the right 45 degrees, and what I could see was that this line here and the line, oh, it's so difficult to do it this way, but basically I was seeing an M here, and then the IV for the tongue would be M4, which I was thinking is March 4th, but then when I did a bit more translation, I got MD4, which for me, when I searched MD, obviously medical references there, but also Maryland, and Maryland is where the image of the old lady's face is taken from, with the hooked nose and everything else like that. Again, I'm not going to be transferring to Google Maps to maybe I do. Let me just get to that place first. In fact, let me just stop here while I'm here. Hopefully I'll remember to go to the old lady. But just here, up in the clouds, talked about it many times before, 31. On the 31st of March, we're going to have that same crescent moon. The Taliban and the United States have just signed this peace agreement, peace and safety, sudden destruction. I feel that if obviously you've got that peace agreement, and some people, maybe they're not happy with the peace agreement, they don't want it to go ahead. So before the 31st happens and the Shia crescent lights up and, you know, terrorist organizations join together and the Muslim countries join together to come against the United States, I feel like this plane attack or this drone attack will take place first. Obviously there's an A3 reference for April 3rd or March 4th. I'm sorry, that wouldn't be a March 4th, just April 3rd reference there. But you've also got the fact that one plane shoots out a missile and two of them in the background do nothing, or reverse, which I'm doing here, which will give us a 21 reference, so 21 and 3 in total, which will be the 21st of March, the Persian New Year, where we see the potential attack on a mosque or mosque-like area. From interpretations done recently, I figure this area is Mecca, which obviously would spark a giant retaliation from the Islamic world. But I also note that these 5 missiles that come out in retaliation, they journey off into the distance and we never really see where they go, or do we? Because not too long after that, we're on the Far East Korean kind of peninsula, and then again we get back to that skeleton scene with the 5 fireworks in the background, and I believe that those 5 fireworks have connection to the 5 missiles that come out of the retaliation from the 1 missile that is launched. Again, if that has a connection to some sort of new year, then obviously it's the Persian New Year. So if these 5 fireworks in the background not only relate to Independence Day or the day after Independence Day, but also connect to earlier in the video where we have a 21 March reference for the Persian New Year and an attack on Mecca, then that's what we could be looking at. Obviously there's so much more to cover in this particular video, but I just wanted to point out a few of those things that we have seen before, but sometimes it's good just to, you know, go back and remind ourselves of what we think and why we think these things, because, you know, there's just so much. The face here, the submarine overall, the volcanic eruption in the background, the tsunami waves, you know, the bridges references, we don't really know exactly which bridges they are, but Brooklyn Bridge, Millennium Bridge, Tower Bridge, there's so many bridges around the world. So there's many things we're looking out for, and obviously I feel like each year there's a little bit that connects to this video and then it stops, and then the next year there's more, and it just keeps you going and keeps you tracking it in that way. But this year we've seen one of the biggest connections, I think, in terms of a late interpretation for coronavirus, but it clearly connects. But the market's plunging. That has to be the biggest indication for the times that this video is referring to. So war coverage would be the next major story, and obviously something would have to happen, like an attack for that particular topic to come up in the news. I know there's tensions between Turkey and Syria at the moment, but I don't feel that will lead to the major escalations that we're looking at in this video. I feel that will only come from the attack of a religious, sacred, or cultural heritage site, as has been threatened by Donald Trump before. So if it was actually to take place, maybe that blame comes towards him and the United States. And then, after a period of mourning, which is mandatory, there would be the retaliation, and that could come just, 10 days later, on the 31st of March. That would be, 10 days after the 21st of March, where we then have this situation occurring, the blocking of the Strait of Hormuz, the Shia crescent lighting up in the Middle East, ISIS, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, I can't remember all the rest of them, but all joining together and uniting and rising up. This appears to be around the same time as a volcano eruption is taking place. Now, that all connects to, the number 21 or the 21st of March, for example. Then a volcanic eruption just brings me back to the apple, where inside of the apple we have that 2 seeds on one side and 1 seed on the other for 21, but 3 seeds in total for potentially March. So yeah, you guys keep an eye out. Again, apologies for the screen being so small, but I feel like I was able to just control it a little bit better this way, and just quickly relate you guys to the parts that I'm talking about in this video. Yeah, so keep your eyes open and be wary of handling currency. If you do handle a lot of money, wash your hands frequently, if you can, and it's not going to look too odd, or you don't care about how you look, wear gloves to protect your hands from contamination. The rest of the things we'll just have to interpret as we go along. As I say, there's far too much to go through in one video. It would just be hours and hours long. But March 21st, March 31st, April 2nd, April 3rd, and skip all the way down the line to August the 27th are big watch days. And that's obviously not including today, which is also a watch day, just because April 3rd reversed would be March 4th or March forward. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you. Whoops, what am I doing?